Hello and welcome to DigFin VOX, Voices in Digital Finance. I'm your host, James DiBiasio. If you like the program, remember, sharing is caring. Please share, like, subscribe, help us bring more people to the show. My guest today is Kris Marszalek. He is co-founder and CEO of Crypto.com. As the name implies, he's all about mainstreaming crypto. Today they've got 10 million users. Can they get to 100 million users? I spoke with Kris about the growing pains in his own business, in the markets, with regulators, and some of the new products and technologies that they are releasing now. So, Kris, great to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me, James. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm doing better now that we're having this discussion. So I've been looking forward to this.
Likewise.
So I want to talk about Crypto.com and I guess sort of your mission to mainstream cryptocurrency in people's lives. You've got at Crypto.com a whole bunch of different aspects to the business, even though you've only been running it for a few years. There's a card, an exchange, a wallet. Now you're in NFTs. Maybe you can just very quickly introduce kind of the way that you've built Crypto.com, the mission, and why you have all these different pieces that you're operating.
Right. So again, our vision is cryptocurrency in every wallet. So it's all about driving global adoption of crypto, and we've been at it for a little over 4 years now. The company. The core products of the company is the world's largest crypto Visa card program and an app. And we've got more than 10 million users on the platform today. It's a very active user base, very fast growing business. And the way we've built our ecosystem is that, we think that in order to compete effectively in this rapidly growing market, you need to provide people with everything. This ecosystem needs to be robust and address every single need you may have in crypto. So we've got this retail business, we've got an exchange. We just launched a public chain towards the end of March, which has low fees and fast finality, and a fully decentralized one. We've also launched an NFT marketplace, which kind of fits into this narrative of driving mainstream adoption of crypto really nicely, because you can bring the world's largest brands, biggest athletes and musicians to the platform and give them a new way to express themselves using blockchain and crypto as a way to deliver it.
What is going to be the next challenge? I mean, I guess you got the early adopters, the enthusiasts, the people that probably are already somewhat aware of crypto and what it might be able to do for them. How do you go from 10 million to something a lot bigger? Right.
So we are on a very aggressive roadmap to hit 100 million users by end of next year. The industry as a whole just hit 100 million users milestone not long ago, right? So there's a big ramp up here. But the way the broader environment provides a strong boost for the industry, I think this rising tide is going to lift all the boats, and we want to contribute in a small way to it by bringing people products that they find useful, and the products need to be good enough for them to talk to their friends about it and just onboard people one by one. But broadly, you've got this global pandemic, which results in very relaxed monetary policy. There's massive printing. The narrative of Bitcoin as a hedge against this is very strong, and it drives a lot of activity. And on top of this, you've got all this innovation happening in crypto space around DeFi, around NFTs. So there's plenty of real working products right now that provide real value, right? So it's a combination of those two things. I think fundamentally, it's still super early in the space. I mean, 100 million people is a drop in a bucket if you compare to the size and scale of like social networks, 2-3 billion users. There's a lot of room to grow, but we always try to come back and look at this from the point of view of how do you create value for the end user to actually use your product rather than starting with technology and then trying to figure out a way how to apply it.
That value proposition that you're talking about, Kris, how much of that is dependent on Bitcoin itself and the perception that it's just number go up and that's it?
Yeah, so the first 100 million people who came into this space came here to accumulate wealth and trade, right? Those are the major use cases. But now you can do it in different ways, like in DeFi, yield and yield generation is a huge driver for growth, and you can easily onboard more people who want stable yield versus people who have appetite for 20, 30% daily price movements, right? So this on its own expands the size of the opportunity. And then if you go to things like NFTs, where you've got people from music, entertainment, sports, art, different kind of worlds, right? And you can do a lot of stuff with it too. And I think we are just scratching the surface of what this could accomplish. So you're gradually expanding this, the use cases, so that it's relevant to broader swaths of society. And we have to remember Bitcoin is still king. Everything trades against Bitcoin in this space, and if the Bitcoin does poorly, it's hard to see how the rest of the industry is going to do extremely well. But it's not everything. There's so much activity in all these areas that you're getting a more organic growth, if you will, in the industry.
What has to happen for whether it's NFTs or perhaps maybe the DeFi world to become, let's say, standalone and not so dependent on one token, particularly one that can be controversial when it comes to its environmental impact?
Right. I think obviously, it will take time, right? These things don't happen overnight, and there's a combination of people innovating, user experience improving, technology improving, so you don't face issues like fees and network congestion, regulatory clarity, and just this crossing this chasm, right, from the early adopters to early majority. This kind of industries, can take like a decade or two to cross it, right? So it'll take time, but in my view, it's all happening much faster than we originally anticipated after the 2017 peak and a subsequent cool down. In my wildest dreams, I couldn't imagine that you read those type of headlines like you're reading this share. Like, we've done the first settlement in USDC to Visa recently, right? These are like gigantic corporates who are now fully on board and help drive this. And there's like so many headlines every week. So it's going to take time, but it's happening much faster than anybody expected, I believe.
You were one of the first to get a card deal as a crypto company. What is the importance today? Is that still a driver for the business? How important is the physical card aspect to what you're doing?
I think we've just announced in March our global alliance partnership with Visa, and just last night I was listening to their quarterly earnings call, and they mentioned us twice, right? So we're an important partner. I think it does wonders to the credibility of the industry that you have, some of the world's biggest, most reputable brands supporting the industry and crypto to come like this. The card business for us has always been about giving the users 24/7 access to their money, giving them peace of mind that when they need it, they can just immediately spend it, or take out cash from the ATM or whatever. And that still holds true today. We think the product is very sticky. We've got fantastic rewards on it. It's the addictive experience. Every time you spend, you get rich cashback rewards, and it's a beautifully designed product. So it's great for branding, great for user acquisition, and great for making sure that customers have an emotional connection with the brand.
Are you beginning to feel pressure from other large crypto organizations with a large footprint? Coinbase just IPO'd in the United States, huge exchange. Others like Gemini are also coming out with card offerings. What's this space like? Do you have the liquidity and the size to compete with the likes of a Coinbase?
Right. So I think the Coinbase direct listing was a fantastic news for the entire industry and for crypto.com specifically. You know, they're a little bit an older company than us. They started in 2012. You know, we launched our app in 2017, 18, right? So they have a little bit of a head start. And they're still much larger in terms of just scale of the platform. I think the latest released numbers were there are 56 million users, and we are just over 10 million. So so there's still this 5x factor. But the difference is that, you know, we have a better product and we're growing faster. So we feel good about our position right now because being public listed gives you certain advantages, like the higher profile of the company. You know, you've got now currency that you can use for M&A, so that's great for Coinbase. For us, you know, for example, you know, we do not have quarterly pressure of results being released, right? So, you know, we can compete on the price, and customers already developed a certain opinion about the way Coinbase is priced, and they're developing a reputation, not unlike PayPal, for example, right? Still a very robust business, but customers have a certain reputation, and you can get a better deal elsewhere. So we predict that we're going to aggressively take market share from Coinbase and close the gap within the next 2 years in terms of the size of the user base.
You're based in Hong Kong, as am I. And I see sometimes some crypto.com branding and advertising in town, but you're not licensed here to do work like, say, like an OSL, for example, which has a Type 7 license as an exchange. So what's the dichotomy there? I mean, how do you navigate being able to do business in a place where you don't have a license and others do? And are you just sort of foregoing the institutional side? And how do you handle the retail side when at this point it's not yet under any kind of specific SFC ruling, but that could change?
Right. So crypto.com is a global business, and Hong Kong contributes you know, very, very small percentage of it. You know, we're talking about less than 1%, and we do not aggressively solicit customers in Hong Kong. And regulatory reasons are a key factor in this. I think it's the proposed legislation. I think that the industry consensus is that it's ill-conceived because you set this very high bar, and like retail won't be able to participate in the market. You'll have to have 8 million Hong Kong dollar, or roughly 1 million USD in liquid assets, so you can be served as a customer by a licensed entity. So, I mean, the consensus is that, you know, people are just going to go to unregulated platforms like the ones you see coming out of China. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's giving them the protection that customers need and deserve. So, Crypto.com is a regulated business in multiple markets. You know, we are an electronic money institution in Europe. We've got a VFA license out of Malta. We've got an AFSL license in Australia. We have a whole bunch of licensing processes ongoing in another 10 or 12 jurisdictions. So our point of view is you need to be regulated in every single market where you operate. But today there's no option to get a proper license as a retail business, a retail first business in Hong Kong. So I hope that you know, this consultation paper that is now, you know, there's been feedback submitted. I hope that this legislation is going to be adjusted into something that helps the industry thrive in Hong Kong, rather than just pushing retail to some of the unregulated platforms.
What are some of the other? Where's the jurisdictions where you feel that there's the most progressive movement taking place?
our view in general is that the whole industry is going to be very heavily regulated within the next 2-3 years. And we are building the infrastructure to support this. And eventually this regulatory arbitrage that some people try to play is going to disappear. So you need to be, as a platform, you need to be at a certain scale that allows you to build a global brand, a trusted brand, but at the same time you need to have local offices everywhere and local entities that are locally regulated and operate within the remit of local legislations. It's some countries got their act together faster, and some are moving slower, but eventually we're all going to get there.
When I hear things about DeFi and regulation, often there's a perception that this just means that there's no KYC, AML is out the window, everybody just wants to be some sort of libertarian crypto dream. I don't think that squares with the kind of regulation you're talking about. But at the same time, regulating networks is a little bit different than the kind of regulation that was envisaged in, say, 1930s US securities laws, right, which are regulating companies. So what do you think is the way that regulation, what would be the ideal way that we square some of these circles?
Yeah, these are complex issues, but I think it would be naive to assume that that this space is not going to be regulated. The DeFi space is not going to be regulated just like any financial services, I think regulators around the world are trying to wrap their head around this, and typically, if you look at this like a year ago, they'll probably look at, oh, it's a small niche, a couple $1 billion. It's a drop in a bucket on a global scale. It doesn't matter, right? But that thing is growing extremely fast, and that attracts attention. And there will be need for KYC, even though those are just networks. I mean, they move a lot of value. So a regulator is going to step in and try to make sure that this is not used for some illicit activity. And I think that's the way it should be.
What's going to be the next big hurdle for you? What do you want to get done this year?
Yeah, I think as the company grows, we've had a big ramp up in the number of people on the team, and you could see that like 70% of our team has never been to the office because we've been working remotely since January last year. So I think, answering the question, how do you scale another maybe 3x in the next 12 months while maintaining the speed that you need in this rapidly evolving space, and making sure that in each and every product line that we have, and it's a pretty broad roadmap today, that we are able to out-innovate and kind of lead rather than follow. How do you organize yourself to achieve this? I think this is the key question that we're discussing internally. And
yeah, because now you're getting into management issues, aren't you? I mean,
we've been very, very lucky. So we have a very strong team, and majority of our team members come through personal referrals and personal networks. So it's a strong culture and a strongly knitted group of people. But again, how do we not lose this, and how do we maintain and strengthen our culture as we grow very rapidly in a time where you don't really have the chance to see each other face to face? I think these are the things that we're grappling with right now. And obviously, there's a bunch of other stuff, like we're just growing super fast, so there's a tremendous level of pressure on all the infrastructure and to scale it and whatnot. But this part of the game, I think it's also what makes it so exciting. It's so much fun.
Last thing I want to ask you about, Kris, is the blockchain that you have created and launched. What was the reason? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about what makes this different. Like, what's the way that it works, and why did you design it that way?
Right. So, these days in the marketplace, you've got decentralized networks, unquestionably decentralized, like Ethereum, and it's a fantastic piece of technology and a great achievement. But it's also a victim of its own success with this huge network congestion and high fees, which impact user experience. And on the other side, you've got networks that are fast and inexpensive, but they're known to be kind of fully centralized. So we thought that this choice. It's just like between two bad things. So we want to have a decentralized network that is highly performant, so that you can build, a proper payments product on top of this with like a couple thousand TPS, or you can actually mint these NFTs inexpensively and let people transact. So we always approach it. Okay, can we build a user experience on top of this? Okay, we can't, right? So now we're going to build something that allows us to deliver the user experience that we want to deliver, and that's why we launched this chain.
And is this chain sort of open source, or is this?
Yeah, it's fully open source. We're huge proponents of decentralization, so it's fully open source. There are millions of people securing the network. Some of them by running the validators of the network, some of them by delegating to the other validators. So it's fully decentralized, public open source chain, and it's a public good. It's our contribution a little bit to the industry, but it also is a key critical piece of us building the ecosystem. Because now we've got this venture fund that invests in crypto startups, and we're bringing people to build on top of the chain, and it's a completely new roadmap for us.
Great. Okay. Well, sounds like we'll be hearing more about that in the coming months. Kris Marszalek, great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us today.